Okay, so we will start now. Dr. Guruchan, teaching and non-teaching staffs, and dear engineering students, good evening. I am Harsha Banu, President of the Chemical Engineering Society, and I'm your host for today. I welcome you all to this workshop on circular economy, initiated by the FACREP and organized by all FOE student societies, the Chemical Engineering Society, IMECI student branch, IEEE student branch, and Civil Engineering Society. Today's session will focus on three main components: circular and linear economy paradigms, circular economy principles, and business strategies. The workshop will last for 3 days, and it will also be live streamed on our YouTube channel. A Google Sheet will be provided at the end of the session to validate your presence, and you are most welcome to enter your questions in the chat box throughout the session, either on Zoom or YouTube, and I will read them out at the end of the presentation. And now we'll leave the floor to Yashil, the FACREP, who will address you. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Harsha, and good evening, everyone. Actually, this session of today is the first one of an amazing series that we will be bringing forward. Okay, and this series would be webinars or workshops just like today. Well, why workshop? Because you will see that this one is not like the basic webinar that you usually have, same as lectures. No, it will be really interactive, and I encourage you to participate. And all these workshop webinars, these events, are aimed to give the students this extra knowledge that our already bulky course doesn't give us. Okay, when interacting with the students, actually lots of you told me that they want to be future entrepreneurs. Okay, well, that's actually great, because if we look at the entrepreneurship world, the world richest persons do have an engineering background. Actually, we have Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and Jeff Bezos all have engineering backgrounds. So why not? Because our economy, the post-COVID economy, does need engineers, entrepreneurs who can, with one idea, change everything. Actually, okay, you'll be attending several sessions, and so do take your pen, a notebook, and then drop all the ideas that you have. If from one webinar you have 1, 2, or 3 ideas, if you attend 10, you'll have around 30 ideas. And sometimes only one idea can change everything. Okay, so do come forward with your needs for webinars. For example, we had mechanical engineering students who told me that they want a webinar on health and safety with relation to engineers. And yeah, so things like this. We'll also have AI the next month. So do come forward so that we can get to know your need, what you want. Okay, what does your course lack? You will see that this workshop is in collaboration with lots of engineering societies, our student societies. And this is actually really good, because we want to bring together the students, and then we'll bring together the academia with the students, and then the industry. So small steps, but we will get there actually. Okay, and to be able to do all this, we need your presence. Your presence, our motivation, and our blessings. So thank you. I return to you, Harsha. Apologies.
Thank you, Yashil. So now I'll proceed. I now have the pleasure to invite Dr. Mahendra Guruchan, who will be conducting this 3 days workshop. He is senior lecturer in the Mechanical and Production Engineering Department of the University of Mauritius, and is a chartered engineer registered with the Engineering Council, Circular Economy Pioneer for Mauritius, from the British Council Sub-Saharan Arts Programs, and the COP 26-27 representative of Mauritius for the Association of Commonwealth Universities Futures Climate Research Cohort. I'll now leave the floor to Dr. Guruchan, who will proceed with the workshop. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harsha. Thank you, Ashil. So it's a big pleasure for me to be part of this webinar today and to be sharing my knowledge. So I hope you can hear me well. If there are any problems with connectivity, do let me know. So I'm just going to start by just sharing my screen, and then we get started with the topic of today, which is on circular economy. So I've prepared some slides for you just to guide us in the presentation. And like Yashil mentioned at the start, the format of this session will be very interactive. So I've prepared some slides where you will be able to give inputs. So I would really want to get the views of you as our youth. So if you look at the first slide itself, I mentioned they're empowering our youth to make the needed changes and transformations. Based on my personal experience with climate change, like Harsha just mentioned, I'm involved with COP26 and climate action. So it's one of the pressing issues we have in our society today, and also lots of other issues, which I would invite you in a few minutes to give you perspectives on what are the challenges and what are the good things already being done and what needs to be done further. Like Yashil mentioned, one main focus for me, I'm an academic, of course, so I'm not involved with enterprises and so on, but I'm involved with enterprises on another level, is to help them integrate circular economy in their businesses. So through these 3 days, which will of course be staggered over 3 weeks, so it's really to give you time. So today's session is really to set the scene and to present to you the precepts or the principles of circular economy, really to encourage you to start thinking what you could do at your level as on a volunteering basis, if you are interested in carrying out community actions, community engagement, and to do things for your community, but also on the side of enterprises, businesses, because there are so many things that you can do to be able to support the circular economy transformation. So I hope during today's session, as we go along, you will start getting these ideas in place. I've put small exercises along the way. So it's not just like a lecture, which I'm just giving you the knowledge, but it's really you thinking about concrete examples, how you can go about and make changes which would support the circular economy, but at the same time, involve you and your community. And I think if you want to make the needed changes, you, our youth, would need to take that lead now and to do things differently. Yeah, because I've seen that if you want that reluctance to change things, because that's quite normal human nature. When we have something ingrained in the system, we want to perpetuate it. But we are seeing so many issues along. So just to get started, on the very first slide there. So I'm inviting you here really to just let's take a step back. We're not stepping directly into circular economy. I would want to start thinking about the issues our world are facing, and then slowly we're going to see how is circular economy fit in that picture. Yep. So the first feedback I would want to get from you is our externalities, means our external world. Like Yashil mentioned, we have another session in July on AI, artificial intelligence, which is going to now encourage you to start thinking about yourself. It's going to be quite interesting as well, because AI is about you, because we're trying to copy human beings. But in this session here, we are looking at our external world. Yep. So let's start with the issues, environmental, social, or whatever issue you come to your mind. So I would want you to list the 3 main issues which you think has to be addressed. Yep, at the level of Mauritius, or at the level of a planet, or in general. Yep. So you have a link there. I'm just going to paste it, or if you have your mobile phone, you can just take a snapshot of this QR code there. You should be able to get access to. I'm just going to send this link in the chat. So I would encourage all of you to just access this site and give your free issues. So I've set it also in the chat. You should be able to get it and access the sheet. Then I will start sharing in a few minutes your responses. It's very rich there. If you start each one of you giving 2 or 3 issues which you feel is very important, and then I will start showing these feedback you are sending. All of you can see it, and then this will be a very good basis for us today to see how can a circular economy, when we start discussing the principles of a circular economy, how it can help us address these issues. So the first one I would invite you is just access this one here, or you can of course get the QR code there as well. Yeah. So I'm sharing the screen. You can just take a snap of this, and I will now share your inputs. So just do that in the meantime. You should be able to access it, and I'm just going to present it now. Yeah, so already I'm seeing some feedback. If I can just confirm, Yashil, can everyone see the screen there? List 3 issues you think are critical for society to address. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
We can see it.
Yeah, so I'll just invite all of you here to start moving across, actually like a wheel, as you give more and more inputs. So this will be very important for us in our discussion as we go along. Yep. So I would encourage all of you here. I can see around 90 of you. So don't just put one. You can put 2 or 3. So as you put them, they will start circling around, and we should be able to get your feedback. Okay, just I'll give you some more time for this. So as you put your input, I think there's one setting I just need to do. So as you put your inputs, I just have to just check something. Yeah, so let's put flowing grid. Okay. Yeah, now it's going to cycle automatically as you put. So as you're populating these things, very interesting. So maybe in the background today, maybe most of you are from engineering, but maybe we have from other faculties as well. So this normally would relate to your background as well, but you might also, I can see things like mental health, which is very generic. I'm just going to read a few things out, and these things are very important because at some point I'm going to start recollecting these feedbacks you've given so that we are able to see how a circular economy can help. So I can see here outdated education system. Yeah, so I see one. Solid waste generation. So solid waste is definitely one aspect of a circular economy, but this is one of the misconceptions I would want to demystify as well. A circular economy is not just about materials. We're going to look at that as we go along. Greenhouse emission, that's a big issue because we talk about climate change. Greenhouse gas emission is a major cause of that. We know that. I can see one thing, overpopulation, poverty, climate change. So overpopulation, the question would be, is it true that our planet cannot take the amount of people? Like we have 6 billion people, above 6 billion people. So is it like our planet cannot take this amount of people? Or is it that we are not developing soundly and not being equitable? So these are very important questions that we need to think about. Comparison of lifestyle and way of life with other people on social media platform, inflation, recession. Currently, we know we are having a problem with inflation and having issues with energy crisis. We're also having problem with food security. Yeah, not enough green buildings. So that's really something from my background. I'm actually quite passionate about green buildings and how we can use a built environment. So you would see the third session, which I have planned for you on circular economy on the third day, is about homes. So homes is really what you're talking about here, green buildings. Yeah. So how can you use homes or buildings to address the issues we have and really to empower people? So that would be the subject of the last one. Food waste I can find there. Sustainability is a very broad topic. So if you want to, if I just comment about that, you could be asked this question, what's the relationship between circular economy and sustainability? In a way, the circular economy principles we're going to discuss today is a very powerful tool you can use to support sustainability. Sustainability is like a big umbrella. It's like very broad. If you have heard of the UN SDGs, the 17 UN SDGs, so it's very comprehensive. But from today's session here, you have a quite good background of how can you go about to support sustainability. Because if you start looking at the SDGs, you're not actually tools that you can use to support sustainable development or to create change in society or at national level. But the circular economy principles and the circular design principles I will show you today is really very grounded and allow you to do the change you want. So if you ask this question, what is circular economy and sustainability? What's the relationship between the two? It's very simple. The circular economy principles is a very powerful tool for you to be able to do sustainable development. Yeah. So let's look at some more. High cost of living. Yeah. Climate change, hunger, hygienic facilities. Okay. So I think we've got quite a lot across. So remember, what was the question I've asked you? What are the issues we are facing? So I've asked you 2 or 3 main issues, and you can see already. So if you look at these issues, it's clear there that our society is suffering in a way. Yep. So what we call a modern society, which we are trying to engineer and to develop, but still there are so many issues across. But in a way, we need to question ourselves. And this is what the circular economy would do. As we go along, the circular economy would question us and start asking us to reimagine the way we are doing things. Yep. And we're going to start comparing now the linear economy against the circular economy. So as we go around, there's one thing, corruption there. That's very important. As we go along, I have this I have this always this inclination to always take analogy from human beings. So we're going to start also taking analogy from human relations to see how a circular economy can help us avoid corruption. Because I'm quite philosophical, and sometimes I also like to relate to spiritual literature, because I really like also going beyond just the engineering and the science. And if you start looking at the principles of a circular economy and you transpose that to human beings, you'll find there are lots of lessons for human beings as well to learn from, to be circular themselves. Yep. So it's a bit above, maybe at another point in time we can discuss that. Today's maybe the focus would be in terms of engineering, science. What tools can you use to support the circular economy? Yep. Yep. So we can see lots of issues around. It's true. And if you look at the fragility of our society today in terms of wars, in terms of problems you're facing, it means we have lots of issues around. This is why I was saying at the start, I myself believe a lot that our youth should be able now to take the lead. When I spoke to Yashil as the fac rep, so initially when we're doing the faculty strategy, I mentioned to Yashil that we should be able to start engaging our students, like he said at the start, beyond just lecturing, but doing concrete projects and take engineering as fun. Means if you can apply your engineering knowledge, be it electrical engineering or mechatronics or mechanical, chemical, whatever field you are from, I think this is why you have chosen engineering, because the fun out of it. Engineering is really fun. You apply it and you can make concrete change in society. So if now you can start applying your principles, your knowledge to be able to address these issues which you have highlighted today, not all of them, but if you can start making small changes and apply your knowledge at the same time, do things concretely, not just talk about policies and things on paper. So this is one thing which I've talked to Yashil. If in the future we can start having projects maybe supporting circular economy or supporting climate change, that will be very good. Yep. So I'm stopping this one here. I think we've got quite a lot of issues here. The next thing I would want to invite you again, you have a second sheet. So I'm just going to project this one as well. On the other hand, there are so many good things around that give us hope to overcome these challenges. So again, now you can just snapshot this one. I will again display it. We're going to go quite fast on this one. Yep. So we have talked of the issues, but not everything is just bad in our world. There are so many things out there which can give us hope that yes, things can change. So according to you, just give 2 or 3 of these, what gives you hope that things could be different? So again, you can just snapshot this QR code there, and I'm just going to copy again the link, if that's easier for you. Just copy the link and put it in the chat. This is going to be a very good basis for us to proceed today. Yep, see why I'm doing this. Yeah, so this is the chat now, the second Menti sheet. So this one is really about what you think are good in our world and from which we can have hope that things can be different, and also what can help us overcome the issues you just talked about. Yep. So I'm just going to again share this sheet with you. So this one was for the issues. I'm just going to go for the. So I hope you can see my screen here. I'm on my Mentimeter account. I've created this second one, this one here. 1 minute. I need just to put it as a circling 1 minute. Yeah. Just look at the settings. 1B. So you can put your inputs already. So this should be available already. And I just want to, yeah, it's already flowing green. So I can present now. Okay, so already we can find a few things there. Yep, so list 3 good things happening in our world that can help overcome these issues. So just look a few of them. So as you put your, give your inputs, it should be circling. So just give time. Yeah, it is starting to cycle. Let's just give some time on that. So just put your inputs. This is going to be very useful for me as well. To take these points on board as we proceed today, as well as on the subsequent days. Just going to take some of them. One is engineers there, so that's good. You can see, so we have engineers there, especially engineers who are committed. Now, when we talk of your profession, even now as a student, we have this concept of giving back to society. Now, because society has given us so much. When you are coming up, you are brought up in a given environment, your society. So people, not only your parents, but the whole community, your neighborhood has always nurtured you in a way and supported you. Now that you are becoming a professional in the making, even now you can start doing that as a student, is giving back to society. So this is what one of you said, engineers. So your role will be, of course, to make a living and to earn, to be able to meet your needs. That's fine. But then giving back is also very important. Now we have COP22 there. I don't really know what you mean by that, because we do have lots of COP that has come across. Now we're at COP27. Maybe COP22 was a very specific COP, which you're mentioning about, where we have some agreements. Conference of Parties is actually COP. Now we've seen the past, the previous COP in Glasgow was COP26, and there were lots of, I would say, unrest, especially from the young climate activists. They were not agreeable to how governments are handling climate change, because it is their world. The next generation is going to inherit this world, so they were not very happy, and there are quite a lot of, if you want, unrest from the young climate activists. Even now we have COP27 coming in Egypt in November, so you expect similar sort of, if you want, youth voicing out their concerns for the climate. I would be involved in that, so I will come back to your societies, and see how we can work out together to now maybe take a climate change focus, and to maybe brainstorm what you want to see different or changing in Mauritius, and then we can create a white paper sent to government. This is how you can create your voice. So we can come back to this. I'll be very happy to work with you. We can see renewable energy there, definitely. I can see ISO standards followed by companies. Yep. So we do have ISO standards coming now on environmental protection. Yep. So that's a good thing. But normally ISO standards are not legal. It's not compulsory, not mandatory. So this is one thing. It's like normally these standards they can be, of course, enforced by law, but generally they tend to be, if you want, optional. Yep. So this is why it depends a lot on the personal commitment of these companies. Shift in using technology to resolve problems, example, environmental poverty. So you engineering students, this is what I'm expecting from you. As we go along, when we take these fundamental principles of circular economy, I would expect you to start thinking about your discipline and how you can work together with colleagues in other disciplines in engineering, and how you can create these solutions. This is what. Natural resources are available. Yes, in a way, natural resources are available, but what we're struggling now is we are destroying natural resources continuously, and we're not replacing them. So that's one big problem. If you look at the limits we have in terms of the planet Earth, we are exceeding the limit. Actually, we have exceeded the limit a whole amount, I would say. This is why we're facing problems. Accreditation of our BEng courses, yes, that's a nice one. So this would definitely help you in the future to go about in the international market to work. Yeah. Some more before we move on to the next one. Green technology. Yeah. Mauritius 60% renewable energy scheme. So I hope really government is able to achieve that by 2030. That would be a nice move for Mauritius. Fine. We have UNICEF, World Health Organization, and climate activists. So this is what I've talked about. It's very important that you voice out your concern, and you do have lots of organizations that can group you so that your voice is stronger. Yeah, that's good. Let me see some more. I think that's good. Empathy. So we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. I'm going to introduce very briefly something called design thinking. So in that, we're going to see empathy. Actually, empathy is actually the most important thing, the most important ingredient for us to be successful in our society, to resolve all the issues you mentioned earlier, is actually empathy. If we have empathy, it means we have proper feelings, if you want, wholesome feelings for our neighbors, for other human beings, and we care really for other human beings, but for the environment as well. This will be a central point for me today, is the environment and our relationship with the environment, and where we are failing today and why we are having these problems. Yeah. Okay, so good. I think good feedback from you. Now, one last set of feedback which I would request from you now is really your perception of what should change. So I'm just going to shift on the third slide now and request your last feedback. Actually, you have, of course, some exercises to work as we go along, but this is really setting the scene there. So finally, think about the changes you would like to see happening to overcome these issues in Mauritius. So what changes you think needs to happen in Mauritius so that you overcome the issues you mentioned before? So you talk about the good, there's some things out there already, which is preventing us to have like hell. If we did not have the good things, we're going to get a hellish condition. So we have a combination of the good and the bad. Now, what changes you think would allow us to overcome the issues in your community, maybe in your village, in your town, if there are some pressing issues at the level of Mauritius even? You've talked about corruption and other things which are maybe based on human beings, but also on the environment. So just access this one. I give you like 1-2 more minutes just to get your opinion on that. So again, you can scan this QR code, but I'm going to send you the chat again. just let's get your feedback on this one here. What you would want to see changing? Yep, so I've said in the chat already, you can access it through this link, or you could access it from this QR code. Now, the next step there, as you are answering, the next step for me would be to start presenting the circular economy principle, the framework. Maybe you have known about it already, but it's really formalizing it. And then based on what you have already said about the good and the issues and the solution, what is more important for me in this workshop is you start getting a clearer picture how you can do changes, how can you do things as a business opportunity or by volunteering or when yourself as a group of students. How can you start working on concrete projects that can support these solutions you're proposing? So I'm just going to now share your inputs, and let's hope this start becoming a platform for you to collaborate or to work with each other. This is really the whole aim. So as you're putting your inputs there for the third one, let me just check if it is in a flowing mode. Just check that. So just keep your inputs on. That will be shown in a few minutes. Yeah, it should be flowing great. That's fine. I'm just going to present it now. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we can already see quite a lot of inputs from you. I'm just going to read through them. And like I said, the whole aim there is for you to start thinking. Not all of them, of course, would be the basis of a circular economy framework. Yep. Some of them possible, but like I was saying earlier, whenever it comes to the human dimension, yourself, our neighbors, our politicians, or our leaders, or your lecturers, and so on, it's also possible to apply a circular economy principle, but then with an extension to human relations. I'm sure you'll be able to do that as we go along, but it's not going to be one-to-one because the circular economy principles, just like any framework you talk about, is really for the external world to do things like the artifacts or the artificial things, the man-made products. This is what our focus is, unfortunately. When we talk about AI in July, maybe some of you will get some revelation, that we don't tend to think about ourselves enough. So this would be one major outcome which we'll get in July. But really, normally, when we talk of this framework, they tend to be applied more for what we create, like our creations, like bridges, buildings, cars, your bread, your sandwich, your packaging. So these things are, of course, directly applied from a circular economy principle. But when you come now to changing people, this can be done, but it's not a one-to-one. This is what I want to say. Yep. So let's see some of your inputs. Better political and economic management. So this again is coming in terms of people. Better education system. So I think a better education system for me, like I was saying at the start, would be really training you, our young, to be able, of course, to get the fundamental knowledge in your respective areas, but also to showcase or show clearly how you would be able to apply that to tackle pressing issues or to innovate. Yeah. So whenever you talk of innovation, it's a very nice word, but as we go along, we're going to see what is innovation really. What is innovation really? Can you consider innovation to be like a technological breakthrough, but which is causing harm to people or causing harm to environment? Can that be termed as an innovation? So from today's session, you will see if you want to innovate, fine, technological innovation, but you would need to do that in a very sound way. And the circular economy principle would really help you to do that. Yeah. Teach children to have empathy. Yep. So I think that's very important. So maybe you as future professionals, you would be able to translate back this mindset, these good principles to children at school and so on. So this could be that's going to be a way of giving back to society. Promote the use of recycled products. Definitely. We're going to talk about that. Programs to help children from a young age to think outside the box. Yes. Subsidies to poor people. Yep. Subsidies, I would say, yes, it's important. But at the same time, I think for poor people or people who are from vulnerable groups, it's really empowering them. And circular economy is a very interesting, if you want, approach you can take to empower people. So really you empower them so that they have their own living. Yep. Green buildings, we're going to come to that for sure. Just a few of them. Equal distribution of money, as usually rich get richer and poor get poorer. So if you start getting into a circular economy, I hope there is out there lots of opportunities. And I believe that if you start having ideas for circular economy and then you're passionate about it, you will be able to get to have a breakthrough. And then maybe that could be a way to start, if you want, balancing out the difference between the poor and the rich. Yeah, this could be, I think one approach is for entrepreneurs. Yeah. We need to have monthly surveys from students that go to the ministry about what a student needs, mental support needs, or financially. Yeah. Okay, prevent global warming by ensuring more than 2 persons are traveling in a vehicle. Yeah, it's called vehicle sharing, and it's very much part of green building design. Yeah. So I would ask you, as we go along, keep your ideas safely, because as we go along now, you will start working on an exercise for me, which we'll cover actually in the next week. So you will start it today, and then you have 1 whole week to start brainstorming on that. It's not like a homework, which is taking your time, no, but I hope it's going to really occupy your mind space and help you to start seeing things differently as we go along. So very interesting. I'm going to actually save all this, and I will share it with all of you afterwards. I can get that from Mentimeter. So I will do that. So let's just shift back to our slides now. And yeah, okay, so I hope you can see my slides. If not, let me know. So let's now see how a circular economy can help overcome these issues. You've just talked about the issues, already supporting the good. So if you see what the good elements you mentioned, you will see it's already part of a circular economy. This is what I would want you to be able to identify, but also become a great tool for you to develop the things you want to see happening for the better. So you mentioned what things you would want to change. So how can the circular economy principle really provide you a tool to be able to start doing the things? Now, before we can go for circular economy, like I said to you, like I've written the second bullet point, if it is not circular, it is linear. So we just quickly go for a linear economy to understand what is the ills today, what are the problems you're facing today, and where the issue is really where are the issues in terms of how a society is framed or structured, and where the issues are coming. So if you look at the bottom there, we have this concept called take, make, and waste. Yep. So maybe you will identify, but this is currently what we're doing. And this is really the detriment of our ecosystem in many different ways, in terms of loss of biodiversity, air pollution, water pollution, climate change. All this is linked to that mindset of taking things from nature, making use of it, yeah, and then just when we don't need it anymore, we just create waste. Yep. So if I just a bit philosophical here, a bit more on the human sort of just to make an analogy to human relations, think of yourself and your family. Yep. I always take that analogy because it's very important for us to understand what circular economy is about. It's not about using materials and then preventing it to become a waste. It's not that at all. A circular economy is really about harmony. And if you want to understand harmony, it's really taking examples from us human beings. If in your family or your community or among your classmates, if you start disrespecting each other, if you start not having the care or the empathy you just talked about, it means you're creating some negative vibes, negative feelings, or negative energy in your group. And somehow this would not be proper for the sound growth of your group or your family or your village. Now, if you transpose that to what we're doing for materials, just as an example, we are creating waste, and waste itself has a negative connotation. Yep. It means if you allow waste to get in our social body, if you want, or in our society itself, we are already admitting a negative element in our society. And just like for human relations, the moment you admit something negative which can come up, you would, at some point, this negative element would hit back at you. Be it as air pollution, water pollution, or destruction of natural spaces, destruction of ecosystem, or in terms of mismanaging rainwater and allowing it to become flooding. So all this catastrophe we are facing today is because of this mindset of making use of things and then not caring what will be the impacts. So as we go along today, I would want you to start thinking differently. If you've not done it already, I'm sure most of you would be concerned. What are the problems we have? And you already have given your feedback, which I'm quite impressed about. But what I would want us to do now is, what should we do? We can't just sit back and say, yes, these are the negative impacts and we can't do anything about it. No, we can do lots of things. It doesn't just depend on what the government does or central authorities does. As we go along, this is what I would want to have further sessions with you and see what can we, as a normal citizen, do things differently at very small scale, but still have a positive impact. And these things would grow over time or at different scale and have an impact. So this is what the linear economy is about. And maybe you can start identifying some problems you're facing and some of the problems you mentioned about, especially linked to things human beings create, not necessarily in terms of human relations or, like you mentioned, corruption, but like I said, it can be transposed to that if you start thinking a bit further. But now we are limiting ourselves in a way to the materials we create from our environment. I have this analogy I normally give to in our workshops. This can also help you to explain what this circular economy is about. as compared to a linear economy. So imagine, I've just put some shapes there, triangle to decagon. Yeah. So imagine if you're traveling a car and it has these shapes of, the wheels have these shapes. Yep. So imagine you have a car which is traveling and is having a triangular wheel. The car will not even move forward. With a square one, you can have a chance to start rotating, but it will be very, very bumpy. You're going to start, one thing, you won't be comfortable and the road would definitely be quickly damaged. As you start going to pentagon, hexagon, your ride becomes a bit more comfortable, but as long as you have these small linear segments, you would not be comfortable totally and you will be destroying the road. This is what a linear economy does. Like I mentioned earlier, we're talking about an ecosystem there, and human beings are part of an ecosystem. This is something we should never forget. So if we do something wrong to the environment, it will hit back at us. This is how the ecosystem is. If you want Newton's third law, to every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. If we forget that and think we can keep exploiting nature and taking things from it, nature is very, we say Mother Nature. So it's very caring to us. It gives us so many things. But if we are not caring in return and we start exploiting it, then we will get the negative things we are getting back. I think it's very logical. The circular economy is very logical. It's just nothing rocket science. Yeah. Now, some pictures for you just to illustrate what a linear economy is about. If you look at this picture here, just some pictures. If you look at this diagram, for example, which is a junkyard, we are saying this is waste, but is it really waste? If we knew how to use these materials well, they would never have landed there and they would have contributed massively to economic growth because they're worth billions or millions of rupees or dollars. So the circular economy is really very rich in terms of economic potential. If we knew how to prevent these materials to go there and reuse these materials or make better use of them, it means this is a huge economic opportunity as well. This is about our bins at home. I have a project currently I'm working on, so I would invite maybe down the line, I will send an email to the various societies if you're keen to join in to actually do waste segregation at home, and then to start, maybe you students can do that through projects or for not necessarily your project which you do in your lectures or your modules, but if you want extracurricular activities to start using the materials in a separated state like paper, plastic, metals, and so on. How can you create innovative new materials with them? And then at community level, in your communities, you start raising awareness and maybe motivating households to start separating the waste and finding ways that you can collect that centrally as per given roles or in your community, and then taking it from them and creating. This could be a wonderful entrepreneurship opportunity, and you're preventing this kind of things here. Yep. So as you can see, a win-win situation, and we know very well when you throw these waste materials in the environment or atmospheres, they will start emitting greenhouse gases. So it's like a lose-lose situation there. You're losing materials worth millions or billions of rupees. At the same time, you're creating environmental hazards. So you can clearly see there, either it's a win-win situation or a lose-lose, and it's really maybe one of the main reasons today you're suffering. Our beaches there. So also a question, I can see one of the feedback I received from you is mindset of people. So it's something we need to change well. And again, I believe you, our young generation, you have a proper mindset. It means we need to have a proper mindset. These things would never happen if you have a proper mindset. We would never throw something in the nature if we know that this waste would be there and at some point it's going to create harm. We'll be very caring, and these type of pictures would never even exist. So mindset is very important. You know the negative impact of plastic. It goes in the ocean and fish eat it, and then we eat the fish. So ultimately, we are eating our plastic ourselves. So like I was saying, when you send something negative environment, it will come back at you. Like I was saying earlier, very important. Now, those from chemical engineering would know that we can very well do composting of food waste. So if you start separating our waste streams at home, and we will of course have organic waste, organic materials, rather, I don't like the name waste, then you could use that to create compost for agriculture, and the remaining material streams, paper, plastic, and so on, glass, could be used to recreate things. So this is in a way the circular thing we've talked about. Now, I've mentioned about this one here. We won't do it immediately. This is something which you would do actually for the next session we have next week. So I would want you to select one product you like. It could be your shoes, it could be a soft drink, or it could be a mobile phone, the car, anything which you really like. And then start thinking about this take, make, waste, 3 categories to talk about, and start thinking about how the product is made, So what type of resources are needed from the earth? So you can make a flowchart, or you can divide the sheet into 3 columns. So you have your product on top, and then you have your take. What things do you need from the environment to create that product? And then you have the use of it. So when you're using the product, does it entail any first environmental impact, so social impact on people? And finally, when you are done with the product, what happens to it? This is a very interesting exercise for you for one product, but ultimately, as you start doing that for all the products that is around you, this is where the business opportunities start coming, because you'll be able to see, yes, this product is having a negative impact either at the extraction side or at the disposal side or during use. Then you can start proposing different things to be able to make your solution circular. And here you have a business opportunity. Yep. As you start doing that, you will find there are fantastic things coming out. So let's just get started. For each one of you, I would encourage you to do that for one product. Next week, I'm going to actually share a Google Doc with you, with Yashil, and then you can put your ideas as we go along. I will explain that later. Yeah. Now, coming to circular economy pillars. So this, I'm going to just pause a bit on this slide. It's very important that all of you learn, even by heart, but to really appreciate these 3 fundamental pillars of a circular economy. If whatever solution you're creating as an engineer or in the future as a professional, you always bear these 3 pillars in mind, you have here a very powerful framework to get your solution sound, or to create solutions which are circular. Let's look at the first one. Keep products and materials in use. Like I've just shown you some pictures. If now you can think about how can I keep these products and materials in use so they never become waste, you are already supporting one pillar of a circular economy. Okay, so the first one is very important. You can note this down. So as we go along, this will become recurrent, but I want this to become like a mantra for you, where any project you're doing in the future, be it in electrical engineering background, mechanical, chemical, if you can support 1, 2, or all 3 of these pillars, you're doing a very good job. If you miss any of these pillars, it means you're not doing anything out of this. You are shifting into a linear economy immediately. The next one is design out waste pollution, or design out waste and pollution. I'll be talking briefly today on the word design. I know all of you would know what is design, but we need to think, well, what is design, and what is a responsibility of design, of designers, and how can we support the circular economy? My favorite is the third one, regenerate natural systems. If you can go to a level where you are preventing natural systems from being damaged, but we have already damaged natural systems. This is why we are in this big problem today in terms of climate change, pollution, and loss of biodiversity. Can you start regenerating the natural systems? It's a bit in chemical engineering or biology, but anyone can read on that, because if you read anything on climate change, you will know what you're distorting. Can you, from your action or from your business opportunity or from your volunteering that you're doing, start regenerating natural systems? This is really very powerful. This is where I would say the key lies if you want to really reverse the trend of problems you're facing today. So read this 3, will come back to them in a few minutes. Now I'll talk about design. So you will know what is design. Design is a very important step, because any product around you have been designed, and you would know when we design, there are so many considerations that goes in it. What sort of materials do we choose, how the product would behave, and so on. Unfortunately, in the current linear paradigm, we don't think too much about when the product will be disposed, what will happen to it. So it means we are not currently doing a circular design, we're doing a linear design. So it's very important that at the very start of design, if you look at this diagram, especially on the third one where you have the omelette there. I'm vegetarian, I don't eat omelette, but it's a good example for you to consider. If you make an omelette, you are mixing the egg, all the materials like kotomili, the tomato, and so on. After the omelette is made, it's very difficult to get back to unscramble the omelette. It's very difficult to do that. So this is just to make you aware. I'm sure you know it. If you don't get the correct considerations at the design stage, it's very difficult then to undo the design to get it right. This is why it's very important, especially for you engineers. If you get the proper skills to be able to design things correctly, you have a huge opportunity to get into the circular economy. Okay, like everything around us has been designed, this is true, and important decisions are taken at the design stage. And what would help you to get the proper elements is this diagram here. Keep products and materials in use, design out waste and pollution, and regenerate natural systems. So now when you are considering your design specifications, it's good that you also factor in 1, 2, or all 3 of these pillars as design specifications, not just about meeting a customer need, because this is what's going to create impacts. I will quickly talk about design thinking. So design thinking, one of you mentioned about empathize at the start. Let me just check one thing. Yep, we are 6:48, so I think I'm going to start wrapping up as well. I won't be spending too much time. I think you've got a good gist there about circular economy. So if you read about design thinking, it consists of 5 stages. Yep. So first you would need to get the requirements from the people. From there, you have to define the problem. And then you have to ideate, create concepts that would help you to solve the problem. And this is a very important step there, prototyping. You engineers would appreciate that. We need to get our hands dirty to be able to actually go out in the world, test our ideas to get experience. As long as your design is on paper, it doesn't mean a lot. You need to prototype. During prototyping, you will get lots of experience, which will allow you to refine your product to create the final product. So this design thinking, can read more on that. Yep, it consists of 5 steps, like I've said. Yep, so these are different ways to depict it. You can read about it. It's very well known. But design thinking is a very interesting skills for you people. It's very much sought in industry to tackle different types of problems, be it product design, but also in terms of organizational change or anything you want to do, even community outreach programs, use design thinking. So it's a very good skill you can learn. So empathize is really to learn from people. Define means once you get the feedback from people, then you will be able to frame a problem definition. This is what you want to tackle. Next, ideation is like brainstorming. So you would work in groups and really generate ideas. You don't want to judge ideas at this point. You really want to go forward and get as many ideas as possible. And then out of the many ideas you have, you would want to start selecting the most promising one, which you would prototype. So these are different approaches you can use to create ideas. You can use sticky notes, for example. You can use mind maps. So you have different tools out there. Then prototyping is very important. So I think this is one area in Mauritius where we need to change our culture. Yeah, we don't do things, if you want, we don't test things enough. Let's say around us, we have lots of waste. We should be testing these waste, these materials to see what can we create out of it. So prototyping, this is one of the main takeaway for me, for you, is really to do things. What I was saying earlier to discussing with Yashil, we should be doing projects there where students are engaged in real problems for community or for whatever thing we want to do. It should be really in the world, because we're engineers. We don't just work on paper. We have to get that habit of doing things and testing and learning and refining. This is very important. This will allow us to solve many problems we are facing today. Once you do prototyping and you've got your best prototype, then you would just deploy that in the real world and ask people to use it, and then you would iterate relentlessly. So if people are still facing problems, you would refine further and further and further. This is the reality of the world. You want to keep innovating, but the innovation should, of course, bear in mind the environment. This is what I was saying earlier. This is a whole step there where you start with empathy, I was saying earlier, and then you are able to define, ideate, prototype, and then you go back to test, and then the whole step can go forward. And so it's like iterative step. Nearly finished. This keeps zooming in and out. What it is really, unfortunately, in the linear economy, we tend just to zoom in. Let's say you're working for a client in a company one day. A client comes to you and have a problem, and then you just solve a problem. You're zooming in and just looking at the customer problem. What does zoom out means? You go out, you take a step back, and then you see the solution I'm proposing, what impact it is having on society or the environment, and then you try to optimize the design. Then you go back again on the customer needs, and then you zoom back again. So if you do that a few times by integrating circular economic principles as part of your solution, then your solution is sound. Your solution is supporting environmental protection or people. So that's very important. Like I was saying earlier, the 3 pillars I've shown you, you should be able to integrate that in your thinking now as you're proposing your solution. This is called the butterfly diagram. I would explain that in more detail next week. Yeah. So just briefly on that. On the right-hand side, you have the cycles, which are industrial, which is more engineering. So what you find on the right-hand side are different possibilities you have to prevent materials from becoming waste. You can see the outer loop completes recycling, but before you can recycle, you could have shared, you could have maintained the product, you could have reused it, you could have refurbished it. So all these are better as opposed to recycling at the very end. But if you miss recycling, then you go in the linear economy. On the left-hand side, students from chemical engineering will be more at ease with that. You have a whole range of biological cycles already in nature that we can use, like composting and so on. If you want to compost an organic product, you don't need to do anything, just put it out there, it's going to automatically degrade. So these cycles in nature, so by combining the industrial blue cycles with the green biological cycles, you can really do things which are in harmony with nature. We're going to expand more on that next week. Now, I've already shown you these 3 pillars. So I've talked about synthesize, take one product and do the take, make, and waste segments of it. And now, since you know these 3 pillars, key products and materials in use, design out waste and pollution, regenerate natural systems. So now you can start thinking from the issues you find your product is currently having, can you start applying these 3 principles, 1, 2, or all 3 of them, to find better solutions? How could you change your product or the manufacturing or the disposal of it so you are supporting a circular economy more and more? Yep. Now, another thing I would want to do, I'm going to share, like I said, one sheet to Yashil and the team there. If you now, you already know what's the 3 pillars of a circular economy. Now, there are case studies out. When you read case studies on circular economy now, you're going to start finding 1, 2, or all 3 fundamental pillars I've talked about being supported. So I would want you, each one of you, just take one case study you get from a company and how they have supported circular economy. Just one next week, over the week, I'm going to look at your case studies. I will add to it. It's going to become a very rich resource for us, which we can discuss next week. Some references for you. So like earlier, I actually represented the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. They are very resourceful about circular economy. So if you want to read more on that, you have a circular design guide as well. So I will send the slides to you so you can have access to that. I will talk on material next time. This is an open source material recipes. It's very useful if you want to create new material, new products. There are recipes out there how to mix products to create new materials. Yep. So this is where I'll be ending, and I'll pass back to the team now to continue. But this is really part 1 to set the scene on the circular economy. So based on that here, we're going to build up. Next week, we'll go a bit more in detail, look at case studies and how people are implementing circular economy principles. So back to Yashil and team.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Gochan. Indeed, quite an interesting session. And well, you know, guys, actually, life doesn't come with a manual, but otherwise it will be easy. But I hope that each and every week you can have a little brighter path ahead for your projects. And also I would encourage you all to join the FOE societies. Every department has its societies because, as Dr. Gochan mentioned, our goal is to be able to do community outreach actually. So, but in order to do this, we need to work on our chemistry, the students, okay? Yes. And then with the steps I said, we will bring together the academia together with us because they are also the one who wants to contribute to the society. Because when we take a look at universities abroad, whenever there is a problem, they come together with students, professionals, lecturers, they come together and then find a solution. So let's take, for example, in Mauritius, when there is a heavy rainfall, there are droughts, okay? Well, we can solve this. So at least we can propose a solution. So this is what I meant by community outreach. And we'll definitely do this, but we need the contribution of the students actually. And you will also be get lots of benefits out of it. For example, Harsha today, it's the first time that she's hosting an event, okay? And she's doing a wonderful job. She's being able to talk to above 100 people, okay? So these are the things that matters actually, okay? So I will invite you all to attend our next webinars and workshop, and I will share the form that Dr. Gochan will send me and do input. And yes, so I will end here. We will take maybe 1 or 2 questions, not many questions. Yes, so Harsha, up to you.
Yes, thank you, Yashil. And thank you, Dr. Gochan, for such an interactive and in-depth explanation on the topic. I hope that everyone enjoyed and learned a lot from this session. Without further delay, I guess we'll go for the questions addressed to you, Dr. Guruchan.
Okay, yeah.
We'll take only a few questions, and questions that have been left unanswered will be mailed to you, I guess, later on.
Okay, yeah.
So I have the first question is, what are the measures to be taken to encourage companies to implement the concept of circular economy?
Okay. There are various ways you can look at that, because in the current setup we have, we can't really force companies to do it. That's one reality, because companies by nature, they are profit oriented. They tend to see circular economy or sustainable development, unfortunately, as something which should cut down their profits, unfortunately. But that's not the case at all. I hope from what I've explained today, there are opportunities out there for companies to get win-win situations. So by integrating circular economy principles in their businesses, they can actually do more profits if they're intelligent about it. Now, how can we encourage companies to adopt more of circular economy? One way could be our consumers. So they could be favoring more of products or materials on the market which are more environmental friendly or which support recycling and so on. So if you start driving that, then the company would follow. Second, it could be for regulations, for legal. So this is where the government can come in and say, yes, you need to start integrating circular economy principles like energy management, water management, and so on. This is another approach we can take. Another one is, I think if, let's say you yourself are going to be entrepreneurs in the future, you would see that sustainability and circular economy is a very powerful marketing tool. So if you create your company mission, vision, and values based on circular economy or sustainability, you'll find that it's a very powerful marketing strategy for you to be able to market your products. Increasingly, this will become so in the future. This is why I'm saying whatever we are discussing through these sessions, even if not immediately, it can actually lead to business opportunities in the future for you. Yeah. So I think these are three main areas, like I said, the legal one, or consumers can drive the market, or the marketing strategy part of it. Now, there's one danger to that, that's called greenwashing. So people can pretend to be green, but they're not green. This is one danger. Yep. So this is where regulations and standards would set in. Like standards, we know, are third-party certified. So since it's third-party, no one can fool around with them. But companies can say, yes, I'm green, I'm doing this and that, but at the core, they don't do it. So it's called greenwashing. That's a danger we always have. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Guruchan. I have another question. It says, is the circular economy concept 100% achievable?
That's quite relative. The way I've talked about it to you, circular economy, there are metrics out there. If you read more on that, there are frameworks, just like sustainability is. If you talk of sustainability in the absolute sense, it's very difficult to be 100% sustainable. Can we start becoming having zero impact on the environment? Then we will say we should stop breathing even, because we are creating carbon dioxide. So human beings should stop breathing. So in a way, what we need to understand is the planet or nature is quite tolerant. It is there to give us many resources to use. But if we cross our boundary, this is where we start falling into problems. If we start getting this getting to circular economy and start really taking care of materials and preventing them to be waste, it's possible to become zero waste. It's possible to become zero energy, renewable energy. It's possible to become zero runoff. What I say runoff is in terms of flooding. We know that when rain falls on our roof, it creates runoff, and the runoff actually leads to flooding. So I think three interesting pillars of a circular economy for me will be zero waste. Zero energy means whatever we are using comes from green energy, and also zero runoff. If we have these three pillars, this is what the circular home is about, which I'm going to talk on the third day. We are actually coming very close to a circular economy. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think we can take one final question. How can circular economy be an advantage to the engineers in this modern world?
Okay, yeah. So we are talking of circular economy principles, like I've shown you today, the three fundamental principles, like I mentioned, key products and materials in use, and design out waste and pollution and reduce natural systems. These are three pillars. Next week, I'm going to show you the circular design principles. So based on that, now we have very concrete design principles you can integrate in your profession, in your engineering design, to be able to support a circular economy. So I think the circular economy is very well tailored for engineers. Like Yashi mentioned, there are many engineers out there working for sustainable development. And if you look at companies, sustainability managers tend to be engineers. And so I think there's big scope there, because we understand materials, we understand processes, we understand impact of engineering on society and so on. So we are very well placed to make a very important impact for circular economy. I think engineers would be the driving force behind the circular economy. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Goruchan, and thank you everyone for your questions and active participation. We will now circulate the attendance sheet, and I'd like to point out that at the end of the 3 days workshop, you will be awarded a certificate of attendance, provided that you have attended all 3 sessions. And it is with great pleasure that we are inviting you to the next workshop session, which will be held on 22nd June at 6 p.m. The live stream, the video will be uploaded on our YouTube channel, so you can have access to it. And once again, we'd like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Goruchan for investing his precious time for this workshop, together with the teaching and non-teaching staffs. And most importantly, we'd like to thank our most special guest, that is you, the students, without whom this event would not have been successful. And this will close this session. And I guess we'll see you all next Tuesday. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Yeah. Right.